Okay, so the plan was not to make a video today, hence the general look and untidiness of the room. But I have to ask a question, I have to pose a question, okay? So, what is happening to the Labour Party? Like, for real, like, what's actually happening? I'm asking genuinely. It's, like, I'm starting to lose my shit here. I'm starting to think I'm going crazy at this point, because the reality of life, the reality of facts, are not aligning currently with what the Labour Party is putting out. And I'm starting to feel like I'm going a bit crazy. I'm starting to feel like it's the Emperor's New Clothes. Because, look, fair enough. Look, I was willing to accept Keir Starmer when he was elected. I voted for Rebecca Long-Bailey, but I was like, okay, well, he won the election, fair enough. Okay, so I'm not someone who's, like, started hating on him from the start. He's never been as left as I would like. But at this point, like, at what point are people gonna wake up and have the, like, the decency, the reality even, to address the fact that this man is not doing what he promised. He's not unifying the party. He is actively breaking the pledges he was elected on. Like, I can't get over that. That's a stumbling block for me because, look, I can forgive a lot of stuff in leaders because, you know, democratically elected. But if you're literally elected on the pledges, like, if those things that you promise to do are the reasons that people support you, and then you break them, why on earth would anyone trust you as their Prime Minister? Do they think that we're stupid? Like, I actually think they think we're thick. And we're really not. But I get the impression by these tweets and this denial, like, people will ask, where's the Ford report here? Are you not going to do something about transphobia? Are you going to grow a spine and support Palestine? Are you going to stop expelling Jewish people from the party for anti-Semitism? Like sure, yes, it's good to combat anti-Semitism in the party, but when you're actually, the rules are actually disqualifying Jewish left-wingers, there's a problem. The so-called unity candidate is basically purging the left from the party and seems to be using anti-Semitism as some sort of factional tool. But if these people say it's being used as a factional tool, not to undermine anti-Semitism as a thing and to say it doesn't exist, but to say that it is being used, which I think we can all pretty much, like, that's just a fact, right? That's just a fact. Not to say that it doesn't exist and that it's a lie or anything and that people don't experience it and that it doesn't happen in the party, but the idea that it specifically came from Labour in particular, and particularly with Jeremy Corbyn, and also the madness of seeing it happen in real time. Because they tried everything to get rid of Jeremy Corbyn. Do you remember? It was, will he wear a poppy? He did, they couldn't get him. Oh, he looks scruffy, he's not wearing a tie. What was it? He's a terrorist sympathiser, he's this, he's that. And the reality was that he was this, like, anti-war campaigner who's been campaigning against apartheid for most of his life as a backbencher and has probably threatened them because he's voted against the Labour Party several times, like, for example, the Iraq War, and how did that age? He was right. And I watched in real time, like, it was insane. So, the anti-Semitism thing, and, like, I'm not denying the anti-Semitism thing, but what I'm saying is, it turned so fast. Insanity. It turned like a nightmare from the complaints process of the Labour Party needs to do better to root out anti-Semitism to Jeremy Corbyn himself is a rabid anti-Semite. Now, I watched that happen in real time. And it was just mad, insane. And then the report actually came out. And told us that when Jeremy Corbyn had actually tried to fix the complaints procedure, he was facing obstacles from within the party that prevented him. And I just, oh my god. And I feel like I'm going crazy because there's an actual report. They actually did the investigation and that was the report. But it's still, Jeremy Corbyn is a dangerous anti-Semite. Oh my god. And oh my god, it was so convenient for the right of the party. And I'm not saying that, like, Jewish people in the party don't experience anti-Semitism and they should be heard, the complaints process should be better, like, all that stuff is true. But you can see, like, I'm not going mad, am I? Like, that thing spiraled to a point now that at best was just, like, attempting to go for optics, like, because the Tories obviously were trying to deflect from their own racism, like, in terms of literal, like, policy, deportations, etc., like, the Prime Minister's actual spoken racism. So it was convenient for them to say, okay, checkmate, maybe we might be a bit racist, but we're not as racist as you, you're anti-Semitic. And of course, good people don't want to be anti-Semitic because probably the greatest tragedy that we can think of in recent history was down to anti-Semitism, like the most awful, awful tragedy. But instead, and I'll make a proper video at some point when I'm not so mad about how centrism and the optics left is killing everything and like literally destroying us and letting us sleepwalk into fascism. Instead of just going with the truth and just saying to the Tories, stopping them right there and saying, wait just a minute, you're not going to deflect from your own issues here. We're going to deal with our issues here, you deal with your issues there. But this is not going to be a deflection. But oh no, the smart people in the middle thought, we'll go with that. Yes, absolutely. Us, more than any other party, are an absolute hotbed of anti-Semitism. And it's like... And the Tories are laughing at this point because they will snap. They snap their fingers and Keir and his lot will jump because they're more interested in optics. They're more interested in... For some reason, they want to win over this caricature they have of working class people. They seem to think that real working class people, ordinary people, don't like immigrants and for some reason don't want the rich to be taxed more. And oh my god, the Tories are playing Keir like a fiddle. This man, I don't understand this man that used to be a human rights lawyer, right, who knows all this stuff. He's become trapped by the bureaucracy of it and he's jumping and oh my god, what a nightmare, because the political spectrum, sorry about the light, the political spectrum is shifting because they're allowing it to shift. Because if you do not root yourself and you say, no, this is what we stand for as our party, if you move to what is popular to get elected, you are abandoning your principles, but also you're making it so... Right, so Keir Starmer is considered the left now, right? Because Jeremy Corbyn's type of left-winger has now been miraculously transformed, especially loads of these people like pacifists, anti-war, etc., transformed into these dangerous radicals somehow, and to distance himself from those people in a coward move from Starmer and his lot. Oh, we're not like them, we're just like you, we can all get along just fine. So he's now become the reasonable left. He's stepped into that void and the Tories... Right, I cannot stand the Tories, but they are smart. There's a reason that they are in power, right? There is a reason. Also because I think morals aren't necessarily holding them back. Like, they're not having to think about that. They can just... They're playing the game like Game of Thrones. They know exactly what to do. Don't get me started on the positioning of Priti Patel and her deportations. Like, they are a step... There's so many steps ahead right now. So many steps ahead. And you can see Keir Starmer walking into the trap. Oh... people are going to like me because, you know, I'm friendly with Boris and I'm just like everyone else. I'm just a normal guy. I don't want to cause any fuss. I'm the reasonable, nice left. They do this in the LGBT community as well. They're currently doing this to trans people. Also, the transphobia in the Labour Party right now is appalling. But they do this to the trans people because selfish LGBT people have decided, and I think in their hearts they probably know that trans people aren't a threat, but they've realised that, okay, they're getting scapegoated, it's shit, it looks frightening and scary, so I am going to sacrifice them, throw them under the bus, I'm going to be a reasonable, accepted LGBT person, and the trans people can take that spot for me, so I don't get it. And it is cowardly. And it's what the centre-left are doing right now. So Keir Starmer, I don't even think you could call him a socialist at this point. I don't even think he's left-wing, I think he's centre, and he has become the left. So the Tories, they know what they're doing. It moves them further to the right, because it means that they can get more racist and more right-wing, because the middle shifts. Once the middle now, where Keir was once the middle now he's in charge, has shifted to somewhere between Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson, who's quite far on the right compared to other Tories in the past. Oh my god, it's the most stupid... I don't understand what's going on. And I've wondered to myself, I've thought, is Keir Starmer and his team, are they complicit? Like, I honestly have wondered, like, are they working with the Tories? Like, have they told him, I know he likes being a knight, doesn't he? He likes all that stuff. Maybe they've told him you can have a seat in the House of Lords if you take charge of the Labour Party. Maybe he knows he's doing it to fail. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's being used. But, like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? I've lost faith, and maybe this was the point of Keir Starmer, because I'm losing faith. I don't even know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to vote, because usually I would think, vote Labour, get rid of the Tories. But what are Labour actually, like... They just are the Tories at this point. They are what the Tories were. 30 people. I think yesterday the number was 30. 30 people drowned in the Channel. So they were refugees, asylum seekers. They come over here. They've been in search of asylum, a better life, which is legal. It's not illegal to claim asylum somewhere. And they drowned, and this tragedy. So of course, from the right, they're the ones doing it. You would expect them saying, "Oh well, it's because of the people traffickers, so therefore we stop them coming over." Also, people love that because they don't have to have immigrants here. Like, ridiculous. I honestly feel like, what, just for one day of the year, they should say, like, anyone who's here because they're an immigrant or has come from an immigrant family, don't go to work for the day. See what happens to the country. Like, see what happens to the NHS. Watch what happens. But it works for them, and there's the villain. It's the human traffickers. Not to mention that, like, the bigger picture. They know what they're doing. They're not stupid. Obviously, the human traffickers would not have power if there was safe passage for asylum seekers. And these are people coming from countries, from places where we've colonised, or we've invaded, or we've done military intervention and left them there. And then oh my God, we treat them like shit, like they're nothing. And Keir Starmer, leader of the opposition, this is the opposition right now, his comment was that it was a tragedy and that they had to do more to crack down on the people trafficking or whatever. Not a word about the safe routes, right? No problem solving, nothing. It's like he's trying to outdo the Tories. He's trying to win voters over by trying to be more tabloid as he can, and it's not going to work because A, I don't think that people are generally as stupid as they think in the Labour Party. I think a load of people can see exactly what he's like. They're not stupid. They're not fooled by the suit and the reasonable man and that lawyer sort of voice. Like, they're not stupid. And then B, he's never going to outright the Tories. Like, he's never ever going to out-tabloid the Tories. So what's the point? What's the point of being like a sort of a faded out version, a very weak Tory, like a weak version of the Tories, a more palatable version of the Tories? It's like he wants to slip into that spot that the Lib Dems used to have, but worse. He's not going to out-Tory the Tories. That's why the Tories said, why would he think that would possibly work? Like, why would that work? And thirdly, even just all tactics aside, right? The fact that the leader of our opposition is cares more about optics than actually protecting people. This so-called human rights lawyer, it's leading us towards fascism, right? The history will not be kind to Keir Starmer. History will be very kind to Jeremy Corbyn, but it's too late. It's going to be too late. So we have this human rights lawyer who's too cowardly, too afraid to even do the right thing. If he, I don't even know if he's a good person, if he's a plant or what. Because in the past, like for example, he was speaking. I believe there's photos of him speaking at like it was for anti-Israeli racism. So basically he was like, I assume you know, it was about like the colonization of Palestine, etc, etc. So it sounds like he used to be against the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians and against colonialism, which like the left just naturally should be, right? Like, just take anything else out of the situation. And I mean, like, I don't know, maybe it's easier for me because my family are from India, so like colonization, like it's a thing I know about. Like, colonization is bad. Like, invading another people's country and you know, treating them differently. You know, look at South Africa, apartheid. It's wrong. It's not like it's not specific to Israel, right? And I think most people on the left, most people know that because they also are angry about the other instances. Like, I first like got into like the idea of all that stuff because I had to, because of my family and being English and Indian and all that stuff, and learning about colonialism, how it worked, how these things happened, right? So a left-winger, like, on principle, should be anti-colonialism, right? Like, at very, very basically speaking, they should be against apartheid, against colonialism, and against human rights abuses, and against breaches of international law, right? And I don't understand the disconnect. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Keir Starmer's got, like, sinister motives. I don't know if they're afraid to open the can of worms because they know that if we actually do something about a current state of, you know, colonialism and ethnic cleansing, then we're going to be in trouble because we're going to have to look at ourselves in history and think, oh dear, like, what have we done? We'd have to address the fact that we have so many refugees and asylum seekers wanting to come here because we went to their countries, or we asked them to come here. We gave them our language and we colonised them. And then we said, come here, we're the best in all the world. And then they came and we decided we didn't want them here anymore. And I think maybe the reason that we don't want to look at the Israel issue, right? And it's not a Jewish issue, it's not Jewish, Muslim, anything, like, it's, take the religion out of it. For me, it's not about that. Like, it's more like India, South Africa, all that stuff. Like, not that religion doesn't play a part, especially in the India thing, but like at a very basic level, at a very basic level, right, we should be against colonialism, right? And we have responsibility, because when it came to Israel deciding that they were going to like position themselves on top of Palestine, like to occupy Palestine, we gave that to Israel because we were trying to occupy Palestine at the time. And it's like, I kind of see why somebody like Keir, who's very kind of weirdly like pro-establishment, like I can imagine him being very pro-royal family, etc. Like, I can understand why someone like that doesn't want the domino effect to happen of us thinking, why does Israel exist? Actually, maybe it's not even about Israel. Maybe it's about colonialism in a wider sense, and our part in that, right? I'm digressing here, but to have such a weak, cowardly leader of the opposition, that he can't even... He's so wedded to the optics that he won't do what's right, ever. He won't stand up for trans people. He won't stand up for the Gypsy Roma traveller community. Like, he just doesn't... I don't understand it. I don't understand it. He's ineffectual, he's wet cardboard, and essentially, even if he does, even if somehow... the polls say that he's unpopular, and I can see why. The Tories are so far ahead. They know what they're doing. They're good at this. They're so good at this. They're so good at appealing to people's fears and making them scared. And the job of the left, right? The job of the left is not to go along with those fears and say, oh, yes, that you're right to be scared of immigrants and asylum seekers. Yeah, we agree. The job of the left is to make the argument that says, wait a minute, those people are not our enemy. Why don't we help them? Why don't we get rid of the people at the top who are hoarding the wealth to help all of us together? That's the argument the left has to make, and it's not making it. I'm asking you, how can people vote for that? I'm asking how we can be expected to vote for that, because I don't know, I'm someone who probably would... It would take a lot for me not to vote against the Tories. But I'm struggling. Like, I'm struggling, I have to admit. I think Keir Starmer's a liar. Essentially, I just think he's a liar. He's a hypocrite. Like, he won't even admit, like, he's broken all his pledges. Tweets today from one of the Labour MPs, tweeting that Keir Starmer had said, presumably in PMQs, I don't know, about how, oh, you can't trust Boris Johnson because he breaks his promises and he was a hypocrite. As if, like, they think we're so stupid. Do they think that we don't remember? Like, what do they actually think? Like, I'm baffled, because it's all there. Why would we trust him? Why would we trust him if he's doing the same thing as Boris Johnson? Like, what's different? What's actually different here? Like, what is it? I feel like I'm going mad, because the rich are getting richer. The Tories are getting more powerful. People are really hating immigrants, asylum seekers, refugees. Like, there are people actually celebrating that these people drowned in the Channel. Like, people... Like, I can't get my head around the fact that people are so desensitised at this point and see them as such an other, they don't even seem to recognise their numbers. Their numbers, they're like a thing, like an object has fallen into the water. Like, oh, how sad. Like, every single person on that boat was a person like it could have been us. Where's the ability to think, oh, what if that was me, or my family, or my friends? Like, where is the compassion? And what does Keir Starmer offer? No antidote whatsoever. He doesn't contradict. He doesn't offer an alternative. He goes along with it. Just a weak version of Boris Johnson. Like, a man in a suit, a grey suit, like, who offers absolutely nothing. And that's even worse than the Tories. Because at least the Tories will say, you know, the Tories are shameless. At some point, you know, they can be pretty immoral. They don't care about that stuff. Some of them. Like, obviously, the very position of being a conservative, like, will privilege the wealthy and the elite and those systems, like the traditions, all that stuff. But for the left, like, what's the point? What's the point? Like, what is the point and what's going on? Like, what's happening? Does anyone know? Like, what's happening here? Because they can't blame this one on Jeremy Corbyn. Like, there's no way, because Jeremy Corbyn has been suspended from the party, right? He doesn't have the influence in the party now. Keir Starmer's purging left-wingers out of the party, right? So what is it? Like, why are we... Explain that. Like, why are we so low in the polls? What's going on? We know for a fact that when Jeremy Corbyn was in charge, he was facing a lot of stuff from inside the party, right? But that's not a thing now, because Keir Starmer's been ruthless. Like, Keir Starmer's got rid of anyone. The slightest, like, any... Like, people have been suspended for agreeing that Jeremy Corbyn was not anti-Semitic and should not have been suspended, right? That is a suspendable offence now. Right, what's going on? What's going on? What's the excuse now? Because we're gone. Like, we've gone. Like, we're not in the party anymore. I've left Labour. I didn't want to be giving them my money, so I used the money that I had as a member of Labour, and I joined Amnesty International because it might do some good instead of paying for whatever the hell they're doing there now, which I just actively works against the people that need help, like the Gypsy Roma traveller community, and trans people, and immigrants, and people who are working class and on minimum wage, and people with disability, and Marcus Rashford, right, who isn't by any means like a far left figure, had to step into the void and stop kids from starving in this country, right? And he's now being seen as this, radical lefty, and then of course the Tories were smart. The Tories are very, very smart with propaganda. Again, I'm sorry about the light, you probably can't even see me. But like the Tories are so smart about this, because like they've then assimilated him in. They're like, okay, good for you, you've done a good thing, pat on the head, one of us, don't cause too much trouble, right? But he's a good man. Marcus Rashford seems like a good man, because at least he did something. Like that, people called him, didn't they? They called him the leader of the opposition. Where was Keir Starmer? Where is he ever when anything is important? He's talking about an issue like 2 weeks too late, 2 weeks after it's done. Like COVID, the deaths, right? He spent the whole time not criticising Boris Johnson because he thought, I don't know why, like he was, I don't want to rock the boat, we all get on with each other here. I don't want to tell him off, although people are dying all the time, especially the disabled and the vulnerable, and I don't really care. And then, like, it's considered, like, people go nuts. Like, his supporters go nuts. Like, he's, like, declared war when he says, oh dear, it's really not good enough. I'm really putting my foot down now. I'm putting you on notice. And they're like, oh, yes, go, Keir. Whoa. And it's, oh my God, Boris Johnson must be laughing. He must be, they all must be laughing. They know they're getting in again. They know they're unstoppable because Keir Starmer, his ego, his desire to be in charge to the extent that he would abandon his principles, has killed off the left. It's dead. It's dead. It's dead to such an extent that doesn't even seem point now in contradicting. Like, the Tories just they lie after lie after lie, and Labour lie after lie after lie, and they don't call them out. And then there's some MPs in the Labour Party who are still hanging on in there, and like, I respect them a lot for it. I don't know what they can do now, but they're still hanging in there, and they try and hold Keir Starmer to account. Like, come on, we need to be better. We're the left. We need to offer an alternative. And then they get turned on like, oh, no, we're not going to get in if you make our leader follow his morals and his promises he made. We must follow the leader. And they call the Jeremy Corbyn supporters a cult. Explain that to me. Like, most of the Jeremy Corbyn supporters I knew supported him because of his policies, and actually towards the end, like, really respected and admired him, but actually felt like he needed to be harsher, like, felt like he needed to stop being so nice, to show those teeth, like, to do something, like, to really, like, push back. In some ways, I think it was, like, his kind of, like, gentleness that kind of allowed him to be destroyed in such a way, which just shows how sick our political system is. If, like, you have to be, you have to have a certain persona, like, the electable persona, the myth of being electable, like, what's that about? What's that really about? Like, ask yourself, that's stupid. Nobody's calling Keir Starmer out. Like it's like people don't even have the energy to, because people are struggling so much right now. Like, stuff is so awful for certain groups, especially vulnerable groups. Like, it gets to a point where you lose energy, and you just think, what's the point? Like, you get disillusioned, and you think nothing's going to change. What's the point? And all that energy that we need to be using, like, to counter the Tories at this point, like, it's not the marginalised people's fault if the party that's supposed to protect them has just turned on them and thrown them under the bus, like, absolutely offered them as a sacrifice, like, right, shamelessly, and we can see where it's going. If you're a minority, you will see where this is going. I assume if you're watching this, you probably think similarly to me, unless you're here because you hate me, in which case, like, I don't hate you, I'm just, like, frustrated by it all. Like, I'm very, very frustrated by it all. It's getting to that point where the Tories can get away with absolutely everything. Like, they can be so bold. They can get away with anything they want. Like, when the Tory MP was murdered, he was stabbed, it was awful. But they're then using that to say, like, okay, so now we're going to do, like, an online hate bill, which could criminalise pylons. Not pylons as in, like, the actual, like, not like the stuff in the road, like pylons online. When there are already laws that aren't aren't even like put into practice against like malicious communication, harassment, etc., all that stuff. Those laws are in place, they're just like not applied, especially if you're a minority. If you've ever been in that situation and you've tried to like go to the authorities and stuff, you'll know how rigged it is against you. But like these laws are in place. Like they had trouble with, they didn't want to apply human rights laws. Like they were arguing against, why should we have to listen to human rights laws? Oh, they didn't like the fact that the MPs' voting records were available online. Mad, because their literal job is, they're elected. I can understand, right, if they were just an average person, their job is to be a representative of the people, like a servant of the people, right, serving their constituents. And how are people supposed to vote for them or decide who to vote for if they don't know what these people vote for, if they don't know if these people even keep their word? The Tories have just slipped in a new law. Priti Patel's just got right under the fence with this one. The Tories are smart. They're smart, they play on emotions. Shamima Begum, the girl that was groomed and went off to ISIS and married to like a much older man who got married to a minor, and she had 3 children by him, and all 3 of her children died. And like, I'm not here to even argue about, like, I have my thoughts on that, strong thoughts about that situation. That's not for this video, because that's what they want. They literally want us arguing about, was she groomed, was she a victim, was she evil, all that stuff. They're using, like, all that emotion, people are wasting their time on, that meanwhile they're putting through the law that actually they can make her stateless because she's a dual national. They can strip her citizenship, right? So they're putting that into law. And now Priti Patel wants to be able to strip your citizenship, right, if you're dual national or whatever, which again is sick and mad, because it literally means that justice for a British person, like every British person, right, under British justice, under British law, should be treated the same way, right? It goes against that. Like, the very nature of it means that somebody like Shamima Begum can be made stateless. And of course, right, so they say you can be made stateless for breaking laws, like breaking British values. Look at history. Like, look, I'm not saying it's going to happen all at once. Look at history. Look where that goes. What laws? Who's going to be more likely to break laws? They've made a law that even peaceful protest, if it's annoying, can now be illegal, right? They've jailed Insulate Britain protesters for protesting. Like, they don't need to be jailed. Like, okay, like, people found them annoying. Okay, but are they a danger? Did they need to be jailed? Are they dangerous to the people? And she slipped it right under the net, because it's like, okay, we don't even need to give you notice anymore, right, to deport you. We don't even need to give you notice. And it slipped under the net because they're busy on the inflaming everyone's fear, and like, oh, talk about the whole Shamima Begum issue, let's give it all the airtime in the world, you know, and well-meaning left-wingers, you know, are a lot of people are like, you know, no, she's British, she is a British girl, she was groomed in Britain, like, why would we send her off into the world? Like, if a British person commits a crime, they have to deal with British justice, or if a British person is harmed and they're a victim in some way, then again, British justice will look after them, right? Okay, I do agree with that, but like, just even that right now, like, think further than that, right? So think, like, this individual case, they will use individual cases always to play on your emotions, right? And that's how they'll slip the rhetoric in, right? Because of course, if they tell you that anyone who is mad about this situation with Shamima Begum, they'll say it's because secretly, that it's insane, but this is what people go with. It's because secretly they hate Britain and they agree with ISIS. Like, it's mad, but that's where it goes. From Jeremy Corbyn's so-called terrorist sympathisingness has somehow translated into people regarding you with suspicion and, oh God, like, you support Shamima Begum, you agree with ISIS. Like, so we have a situation on our hands. Like, we have a situation where we're having to fight, right? There's obstacles to even pinning down some sort of reality, because it's changing all the time. The media is changing reality all the time. The politicians are changing reality all the time. Keir Starmer, he won't address reality in any sense. And if you do address reality, right, even so politely, even if you say, where's the Ford report, Keir? Like, actually, didn't you break your pledges? You're considered a crazy crank on the left. We're doomed. Like, what's... I don't even know what to say. Like, I wasn't expecting to make this. I know I look like shit and I'm swearing, like it's not like a monetizable video, anything like that. I just, like, I feel like I'm going crazy. I feel like I'm going absolutely crazy. And what is there now? Like, what do we do? I'm saying, what do we actually do? I'm serious, because this thing is not going to get... It's not going to suddenly go away and get better, is it? I mean, look at what's going on. Like, financial hardship's going to get worse. All the Brexit that we voted, like, the Brexit situation, right? I'm not even saying that the people who voted for Brexit are all like racist or bad or anything. Like, I think a lot of them, they were very much lied to anyway. Like, but it is impacting us in terms of money. Like, Amazon said like, oh, you can't use a certain card anymore. Like, there's different like shipping stuff. You know, all these different issues are starting to happen. And when the financial hardship gets worse, like, you would hope that those people would turn on the people that did it. But they're so smart out there. Like, they know what they're doing. That is perfect for them to. They've got people lined up to sacrifice, right? They've got a list of them. Refugees and asylum seekers, immigrants, right? They can be sacrificed first. They will throw them in front of themselves like human shields. Trans people, focus on that. They're dangerous. Oh, the Gypsy Roma traveller community. Oh, they're causing a nuisance just by existing, apparently, just existing, but we won't give them sites. All these deflections, like constant, so you can't cling on to the truth, the basic fact, like the basic humanity and empathy, and you feel like you're scrabbling just to even hang on at this point. Like, you can't even argue a point, because at this point you have to argue that the point is even real and is worth arguing. You can't just argue with this Keir Starmer stuff and say he lied because he said this. The actual argument is whether or not he lied, right? You can't even... Oh my lord. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Like, I was not obviously prepared to make this video. Like, I'm just here, greasy hair, everything. But anyway, love you loads, and I'll see you really soon. Like, what do we do? I don't even know. I don't even know at this point. Like, I'm scared. Not in a dramatic way scared, but like this growing, like, reality. Like, it's reality to be scared, right? Like, I don't understand it. Like, it's terrifying. Like, people are getting terrifying right now. And yeah, I don't think I just can't forgive what Labour's done. Like, I could never ever forgive it at this point. It's just, I hate them more than the Tories. I'll be honest, I do. I hate them more than the Tories, because at least the Tories are open about what they do. Like, they're quite shameless with it, you know. People know what they're getting. Yeah. Alright, well, I love you loads, and I will see you really soon. Bye.